What's up? Welcome back to the MindShare podcast. This is where we cut through the noise, say the things that need to be said, and give you real strategies to help you work smarter, build mindshare, and grow a business that actually makes money. This is episode 339, and today I'm doing something I don't normally do. I'm calling out organized real estate. The boards, the associations, the regulators, the people in the high-up offices making the big decisions with our money while we're out here grinding for the next deal. This isn't about throwing shade. It's about asking the questions that no one else is asking. So, let's get into it. Now, getting into it, let's start right with the money, okay? Our board fees, our association dues, our licensing costs. Did you know that most agents in Canada are spending around $2,000 to $2,500 per year on top of licensing fees, on top of insurance, and on top of broker splits? And year after year, in some area, they seem to go up. But what are we actually getting in return? Like, is our business being better protected? Are we being better represented? Is our business easier to run? Are we more profitable? See, most people I talk to would say no. And yet, the cash keeps flowing. And like right to the top. So I want to start here with CREA. This what I'm going to call this data center dilemma. Now, CREA wants to build its own data center. The question I have is like, why? There are some really secure, really high-level data facilities all over North America. Places where they've got all types of protocols and security steps and checkpoints before anybody can access any one of these servers or even get close to a server. They've got tons and tons of data from all sorts of massive companies, completely secure. So the question is, why do we need our own? And let's be honest, I don't think this is about security. I think it's more about control. I think it's more about spending, our money, our dues. Now, back on episode number 318, I interviewed Janice Myers, the CEO of CREA. And we talked about all the talks surrounding the change to Realtor.ca with some people thought it was going to be privatized, but the decision was actually to transition it into a wholly owned, taxable subsidiary of CREA. Now, she clarified the reasoning, and we did have a great conversation. In fact, very insightful. It was an absolute pleasure to have her on and get her to help us fully understand what's going on with CREA, what's going on with Realtor.ca, why the move, why the change, why the adjustment, why do we need to bring on more staff, why is there more money being flowing? And she clarified all the reasoning. It was great, right? And it did seem, though, that it was more of a business decision to generate more revenue, to pay people higher salaries, rather than a strategic move to help realtors in our profession here. And I asked how the additional revenue generated from Realtor.ca would be used to support CREA and its members. Now, we had a full-on conversation. Again, it was an absolute pleasure having her on the show. It was a fantastic conversation. It gave us a ton of insights into what's going on, basically behind closed doors with CREA specifically, and again, what's happening with Realtor.ca, because there was a lot of questions about that. I remember they even did a town hall in the fall probably last year. It was probably around the fall time. And a lot of members got on to ask questions about what's happening, to better understand what's going on with our dollars and how is this going to impact our business? How's this going to impact, one of the biggest channels we have for getting out there in front of people? And again, to get a full sense of the answers and the entire conversation, go back to episode 318 of the podcast, listen to it, and you'll get the full scope of everything that I asked her. The big takeaway question here is, though, wouldn't it be smarter to partner with the proven providers and invest the rest in tools, systems, or even advocacy that actually helps members, rather than building expensive infrastructure that already exists and supersedes what will be built? It doesn't make sense to me. And again, when we think about, the cost of living and how expensive it is out there these days, these are things that we need to look at. These are things we need to take into consideration, because this is where our money is going. And it's just like watching gasoline go up and coffees go up and everything else go up, groceries, cucumbers in the store are like stupid expensive, eggs. Like these things have gone ridiculously out of control. And yes, as a consumer, we all feel stuck. Who do I tell to bring the cost of eggs down? Who do I tell to bring the cost of gasoline down? Who do you say anything to? And I don't think you have the answer. I mean, maybe you do. I don't have the answer. And that's really what's going on in this world today, is that because none of us really have the answer, we don't know who to say anything to, we just passively accept things and we pass them off like, well, it is what it is, without having any desire to make any change or make any impact on what it is. Well, again, in this sense, this is exactly what this whole show is about today. And again, it's not meant to call people out or create enemies. It's moreover to point out things that are happening, to get all of us thinking, so that everybody is really consciously aware and just processes it a little differently. And instead of just accepting it, but think to yourself, what can I do with it? But look, that's CREA. And to me, again, my thing there was very much about why build a data center and spend all that money. And that's the root to it all, right? Is the money. It's a ton of money. It's extremely expensive. Where does that money come from? Well, obviously part and parcel to the dues that we pay. And of course they're going to get into some other initiatives that are going to generate dollars so that they have the money to be able to do this. But once you start building out data centers and once you start taking this into a taxable subsidiary, you've also got to hire more staff, which means we're spending more money for more staff, which means at some point, inevitably, fees are going to go up again. And we just got to keep asking, how much more are we getting? What kind of bang for our buck are we getting? Okay. But then there's OREA. I got to tell you, I don't know if anybody's visited their office, their brand new office. This place is gorgeous. They did a really, really, really nice job there. And they got some fantastic people working over there. Beautiful office, but no CEO. Now, in fact, this office, I got to tell you, it's massive. It's got like a whole bunch of different boardrooms in it. One of them has a table that's like the size of your driveway, okay? You could park a couple cars on that thing. The optics are fantastic. But where's the leadership? See, they've been looking for a new CEO for months now. They hired one specific firm to help, and I know they were doing a ton of interviews, going through a whole really stringent interview process with a bunch of great people. And of course, they had some great people on the list for sure. But they hired that one firm. They went through this interview process. They spent the time. They spent the money. And then literally just the other day, we see an announcement that OREA has now hired another firm because they're still hunting for a new CEO. So what I'm understanding from this is we've got a list of people that we feel are qualified. We hire a firm to go and interview these people. The firm goes through and does all sorts of interviews and then comes back and says we can't choose somebody. Essentially, we couldn't do our job properly because you didn't bring us the right people. Or we just couldn't do our job properly. Or whatever it is. So what happens? Well, they walk away or whatever. I really don't know how the relationship went. But then we go and hire another firm to basically do the exact same thing and start the process over again. At least as I understand it. And still, no CEO. All the while, to me, and I'm going to go here, Luigi Favaro, a guy who's been there 17 years, has been a project manager for the college, an assistant director for the leadership. He's been their property manager, and he's now vice president of partnerships. This guy knows the organization inside and out. He's got the respect of people, what I'd say coast to coast. I mean, this guy's got connections everywhere. Everybody knows him. Everybody loves him. He's a great guy. He's got the experience to lead. This guy was interviewed, and then he was passed over. It's a mistake, period. Like, just full-on mistake. OREA is wasting our money while ignoring the obvious choice. And I'm not afraid to say it. And the question here that again I have is why? Why are we over-glorifying this process? Why are we passing over a person who is suited to take over the company, to run the company? I mean, some of the biggest brands in the world promote from within. Again, why? Because those internal people, they know more than most people know about the organization. They've seen it from so many levels. Here, take Reebok for a random example here. Netflix has a series right now that's on. It's all folks around Shaquille O'Neal, right? And I don't know if you knew, but Shaq is now the president of Reebok. Allen Iverson, ex-NBA player, is also the vice president of Reebok. And they're basically stepping in to bring the company back to what it's been, what it was. You know, I don't know if you know the story, but back in 2007, Reebok was bought by Adidas. You know, the Reebok brand has started to just kind of fade. These two guys happen to have lifetime contracts with Reebok. We know that they're a very reputable, shoe company. So these two guys are coming to basically, bring it back, okay? But I bring up Reebok, and not so much about Shaq or AI there, Allen Iverson, okay? But I bring it back to the comment I just made is that internal people know more than most people about the organization they're with. And so if we take Reebok, for example, here, the guy that was working in the mailroom literally 30 years ago, do you know what his role is now? He's now the CEO of the entire brand. And that's just one example. Look, leveraging from within seems like the obvious decision here. So why are they spending all of this money on this lengthy process? The new pope was chosen faster than this. Like, Donald Trump was chosen faster than this. The entire country of Canada reverted right back to the lunacy we've been living with for the past 9 years, almost overnight. Now, I'm not trying to belittle the role here, and I do believe it'll be an honor for whoever is finally hired. But come on, we're talking about a CEO of a real estate association. Not to downplay the association either. They do some great work, and there's some great people there. But this shouldn't take this long to choose. And more importantly, they shouldn't be spending so much of our money on all of it. To whoever's listening, to whoever's part of the association, to whoever has an impact here, you know me. Lots of respect and lots of longevity in this industry. Friends with many. I'm going to say it, though. Make the obvious decision here. Just name Luigi the CEO, and let's move on. Okay, it's time for a quick break and to hear from one of our sponsors. Me. So have you reserved your seat for the MindShare Mastermind happening in Toronto on September 15th to the 17th yet? Now, this isn't just another event where you sit and listen. Here, you're an active participant. Bring your challenges and goals, and we will help you find solutions. Our speakers bring fresh perspectives and innovative ideas that'll spark your creativity and open your mind to new possibilities. Past speakers include a VP of Foot Locker, a former marketing executive from Budweiser, a Fortune 500 branding expert, a mentalist, and so much more. And this year's lineup, it's just as exciting. But you're going to have to be there to find out. Now, as we usually do, we're keeping most of the details under wraps. But rest assured, it will be an unforgettable experience for you. Now, one thing I will share with you is that you will get to enjoy healthy and delicious meals featuring the best cuisine that Toronto has to offer. Plus, you get 30-day free access to the MindShare Collective group coaching and one free coaching call with me after the event. This mastermind is designed to provide you with the tools, the strategies, and the connections you need to drive your success and elevate your business. Do not wait. Reserve your spot today and join us for an empowering experience. Okay, back to the regularly scheduled show. Time to take on RECO, the gatekeeper that won't close the gate. There are way too many bad agents that are getting licensed, like way too many. And I don't mean like just new agents. I mean just the wrong people entirely. They're not salespeople. They're not business people. They're not even service people. They're in it for one thing: money. And RECO's letting them in because the licensing process is completely broken. I'm going to demand, on behalf of all of us, a tougher barrier to entry. You see, you shouldn't get licensed because you paid the fee. You should have to prove you're fit to represent someone in the biggest financial decision of their life. And until that happens, the reputation of this industry is going to continue to drop. So here's what I suggest. Now, I guess maybe let's take a moment here, okay? Coast to coast, as somebody goes to get licensed, they decide they want to be in real estate. So what do? They go online, they sign up to the real estate, school, here in Ontario again, the Real Estate Council of Ontario. So they go in, they go through the portal, they basically sign up to get a real estate license. And now they're registered, it costs a few grand to do so. The length of time, you could probably get it done within a year. In fact, I'll compare it to it's almost as simple as it's for the same money and the same kind of process as going to, drive a truck. What the fuck? Sorry, that rhymed so well. Come on, didn't it? But seriously, it really is too simple. And now you got all different people, all walks of life coming in and saying, I want to be in real estate. I want to be a realtor. So they sign up, they pay the money, they get online, they start watching the courses, if they are in fact watching the courses, and then they got to go write an exam. And most of these courses, what are they doing? They're talking to people about compliance. They're talking to people about how to fill out forms. They're talking about all the different laws and rules. And by the way, as I understand it, they still have a ton of updates to do to even get them up to speed with TRREA. Go figure. They're not even teaching it yet. How does that work? So as you think about the process itself, people are getting in, they're spending the money, they're going, they're reading some stuff, and they go take an exam. If they're, in fact, the ones taking the exam, too. We've heard all sorts of crazy stuff. Plus, there's all sorts of these courses out that come out beforehand that are giving people all sorts of insights to what the exam's all about to help them pass it. So we're making it easier for people. So the barrier to entry is horrible. The quality of person coming into the industry, for the most part, is not very high whatsoever. And these people are now having the ability to help people with the biggest transaction of their entire life. And this person's just in it for the money? I'm dealing with coaching clients who talk to me all the time about the fact that all they have to do in order to win a deal is battle commission. As long as they drop their commission, they'll get the deal, which says to me that the people they're dealing with are not relationship people, are not people that care about the relationship or care about the trust. They also maybe just care about the money. So now you got an industry that is turned from being very relational to this evolution into a lot more transactional. But that's not what this business is all about. Then you've got people not only that are battling on commission, but they're just doing bad business deals, right? They don't know how to write the deals. They don't know what to include in the deals. They don't know how to protect their clients. They're rude with the other agents. They're not really doing the process of showings properly, open houses. Maybe sometimes they don't even care. They walk in with shoes and they leave the door open or unlocked. People just don't care anymore. And then this lack of respect that people have together of not making phone calls and not giving feedback. The list goes on. And I'm not saying that if you made licensing even tougher, that everybody would be an angel. Obviously not. You're going to get some bad seeds, or you're going to get some people that don't care about what other people's feelings are or respect necessarily for the way business should be done. They're just going to do it their way because whatever. And look, I should add on to this. We've got a lot of amazing people in this industry. We really do. However, we got a lot more shitty ones that got to go. And so when we come back to licensing, I'm going to say that this is the biggest issue right now. You see, when RECO really took over licensing from OREA, they moved it on, essentially online, and started to move it into some of the colleges that are going to run this. The barrier to entry actually got a lot thinner. It got easier to get in. We didn't change much. But I'm also going to say this. And for those of you that have taken the course, and for those of you that haven't, you may not know, but in order to pass your real estate exam, and you're going to have a series of 3 different exams, as I remember it, say 20 plus years ago. In order to pass it, First of all, it's a multiple choice exam. Second of all, you got to get over 75%. Now, over 75%, you know what? I like it. Like if you were saying you got to know 50% of the material to get your license, yeah, that would suck. But you got to know 3/4 of the material or more? Okay, fine. Now, all that said, you sign up for a course, you pay the money, you go through a workbook, you go write an exam. There's been zero practical, real-world application. Nothing that has proven that you can do this job. And then you pass, you get 100% on the exam, 90%, 76%. Now you can move on to the next phase. And once you pass all three of those phases, you have now become a licensed realtor. Pay the fees and you're registered. But tell me something here. Do we know if these people understand how to run a business? Do we know if these people understand how to market a business? Do we know if these people understand how to negotiate? In fact, do we know if these people have the ability to even work with another family, to understand their finances, their needs, their wants, their desires, and what it really means to them to go and buy a new home, sell a home? Or again, did we just take this person who wrote an exam and said, hey, you can do this now? Now, I know, for anybody that's thinking about this course going, well, Dave, I mean, like, what else would you do? That's kind of how things get done. People register to get licensed for something. They read some, course guides. They practice some, practice tests. They do an exam, and then, they get the license. What else would you do? Well, I'm going to compare this back to your driving test. Yes, maybe for the first part of it, the G1, we got to read a book that would ask us what's that, that sort of red octagon-shaped sign with those 4 letters on it. What does it mean? By the way, it's a stop sign if you were curious. But no, seriously, what does it mean, right? Like, silly. The G1 was asking us about the signage, asking us to recognize the road signs and recognize certain lane change things. And it all makes sense. It's practical theory. But the G2 and the G, what'd they make you do? They made you take a course, understand how to drive, go take driving lessons, practice actually driving the car, and then they'd give you your license if you passed the test. See, it was practical. It wasn't just theory. It was practical. Hands-on. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is my moment. This is where we reinvent the entire real estate licensing process for the country of Canada. And you know what? I'll tell you what. Donald Trump, you can talk to your buddies down there too. They can use this idea for, down there with NAR, because this is brilliant. I laugh, but I'm serious. Listen to me. You decide you want to get your license. All right. So it is, June, whatever, and you're thinking to yourself, I want to get licensed in real estate. Excellent. So, we'll create a portal, and you go onto the portal, and you register, and you say, okay, I want to get my license. And it says, wonderful, and you register all your stuff, and you create a profile, and I haven't thought this, exact step-by-step through in terms of, how the sign-up process goes, so just bear with me here. I'm kind of skywriting as we talk. But think about it. You decide you want to get licensed. You go to the website. You kind of, create a new profile. You got to create a password. Have to create another password, obviously. But then you put in your first name, last name, mailing address, all this stuff, and then, you pay the fee. Now it says choose your time. Time for what? Well, we're going to get you to come in and do a listing presentation next week. And you basically go into a calendar link. You choose a time that's available. Let's just say we said, next week, Tuesday at 7 p.m. Okay, great. And you get a confirmation email that says, wonderful, Tuesday, 7 p.m., here's your subject property, and here is where you are going to meet us. We'll see you there for your listing presentation. Your what? Which is what a lot of people might be thinking. They're like, I don't know how to do a listing presentation. I've never done a listing presentation. How am I supposed to do a listing presentation? Well, here's the kicker now, okay? The kicker is this, is that if somebody truly wants to get their license, they're going to figure out how to create a listing presentation based on the subject property that was given to them. They're going to come up with comparables. They're going to lay out the entire marketing. They're going to lay out all the stuff that they're going to do, okay? A listing presentation. You get it. Now it's a matter of, did they show up on time? That's one of the first things I'm going to mark you on. Okay? Now, on time doesn't mean like, we're meeting at 7 p.m. You walked in the door at 7 p.m. I want to know, did you get there early? Did you get there a few minutes late? Were you organized when you got there? Were you prepared? Did you show up dressed properly? Did you approach me properly? Were you approachable? See, I'm looking for the things to go, has this person legitimately got what it takes to be a realtor? Or do they just want to be a realtor? And if you come away from like that online thing that says to you, this little confirmation email that says, go do a listing presentation, you're like, I got no idea what to do. Well, then you don't want it bad enough. And if you're thinking, you're like, well, how's that fair to say? Well, because there's this thing called Google, and there's this thing called ChatGPT, and there's this thing called go ask somebody. It's like anything in life. If you want it bad enough, go figure it out. Now, let's assume for a moment that this person was like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to go figure it out, and I'm going to put together something. Now they walk into that meeting, listing presentation. They've been judged, they've been marked, they've been scored based on certain criteria. Again, arrival time, preparation, dressed properly. And I'm not saying that, dressed to the nines. It's not suit and tie. That doesn't mean it. But did you come in professionally? Right? Do you look prepared? And then we're going to do the listing presentation. I'm going to let you go. Go. Do it. Now, in that moment, I'm not necessarily going to score based on how well you do the listing presentation as much as I'm going to score of, did you get a sense of what you were doing? Have you shown me that you were able to dig deep enough to fully understand what I asked you to do or what that email confirmation asked you to do to come prepared to your first exam, test, whatever you want to call it? This is the first place we're marking you. So we're going to go through a bunch of criteria in that little meeting. And if you pass, I'm going to tell you to come back and show me your marketing plan, and we're going to book another time together again for a week from now. And again, shake your hand, score you on how you leave, you walk away, you've passed that part, you're on to the next part. Because if you didn't pass that part, I wouldn't even let you go to the next part. Sorry, you failed. This ain't for you. I mean, maybe we'd let them try it a second time. Maybe. I don't know. I got to talk to my people, my board members. The people getting paid all the money. Seriously speaking, though, I would do it that way. And now make the person come back and show the marketing plan. And there'd be a series of bogeys, a series of, again, tests, exams along the way, practical, hands-on examination that tells me whether or not you're driven enough, that you want this bad enough, that you've got the skills and the capabilities to be a realtor. Because if I see you've got that, I feel like you're somebody I want to put you in the ring. I want you in this business because you got what it takes. At the same time, too, as we're going through and I'm seeing that you haven't got what it takes, I want to be the gatekeeper. I want to be the barrier to entry and be like, nah, this ain't for you. You haven't got it. Maybe you can't speak the language. Maybe you just don't understand how financing and real estate and the market works here in Canada. Sorry, go get educated on that and then come back. Oh, Dave, man, come on, that's harsh. You can't say things like that. I just said it. And on top of the fact that I just said it, I want you to think about so many other things in life that will tell you too. You, me, any of us. There's certain things you got to achieve, certain criteria you have to meet before you can move on to this next stage. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's very rational. Makes sense. It's logical. I don't want somebody dealing in this industry that has no idea what's going on in the market. So I would change the way the process works in order to create a stricter barrier to entry to make it tougher for people to get in. But the question is, how do we make this change? The bigger question is, does anybody even care to make the change? Or is the money flowing so nicely that there's absolutely no reason to change it? No one had to fill out a piece of paper is not what makes a strong realtor. It's not what protects homeowners. We need to drastically change the process. And until that happens, we will continue to see increased competition. We will continue to see increased fees. And we will continue to see bad business being done. Unless we make a change, it's only going to get worse. So somebody at RECO needs to listen to this and strongly consider a major overhaul of the licensing process. And never mind just here in Ontario. This should be standardized across the country. And as you are listening to this, and you do have say on how licensing goes, feel free to get in touch. We consult many businesses. We'd love to help. Okay, let's move to the next one here. TRREB, my friends at the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. Pitbull. TRREB just had Pitbull at their headline their big event. The show, apparently it was incredible. But again, the question, how much did it cost? And in fact, the bigger question, what was the return on investment for the average agent? We're in a tough market. Like, people are really struggling right now. And TRREB wouldn't spend a fortune on a concert. Sorry, that ain't professional development, that's ego. And then when you see people from within the organization boasting about it and actually posting on social media that they retained Pitbull, like they got Pitbull. And then you see other people congratulating that person. Hey, congratulations, that's so amazing. I gotta ask, are we clapping for how well they spent our money? Look, the overall conference and trade show this year, disorganized. Okay? Underwhelming. And again, I've been going there for 20 plus years. We've been a strong supporter of TRREB all these years, and we still are. The show was much smaller, and that's a sign of the times. It's a sign of the market right now. Again, there was a lot of stuff that if you were part of the exhibitor and part of the flow of the show, very disorganized. And that just has to do with certain people being in certain roles that are probably over their head. But we wonder why agents get such a bad rap out there. How about because right from the top, it really is about the pomp and circumstance. So why would it be any different for the feet on the street? See, our kids become who they are in life as a byproduct of who we are, of how we operate, of what we do. They learn through our actions. And realistically, it's no different right here. It's time to demand more. Okay? More transparency, more accountability, more development. If we're doing from the top, how do we expect people not down below to do the same? So again, we got to demand that transparency, that accountability, that development. Maybe it's time to demand for less. In the same breath, less spending. Let's focus on the bright, shiny objects. Either way, we need to find the track that doesn't make it so expensive to be associated with this industry. Because again, what we're seeing now is we're seeing where the associations and the boards, to some degree, at certain levels, are growing in terms of people power. We're seeing people's salaries go up. We're seeing our fees go up. We're seeing the need to spend more money. We're seeing these big grandiose ideas that are being put together by small groups of people thinking that it's, in the best interest of the membership. And everybody's always going to have a different opinion. Always. We're never going to get 100% buy-in. I get that. I totally get that. But life being what it is, the industry being what it is, the world and the economy being what it is, and the way things just continue to get more expensive, we could be doing a service, not a disservice, but a service to our people in this industry by keeping fees lower, by not having to add all of this extra hoopla. And instead, really focusing on how do we make our agents better? How do we make the industry better? Everything's just too expensive. Now, think about the culture that's being developed out there, this culture of power. Too many of the organizations are no longer about the members. They're about titles. It's about popularity. And definitely self-promotion. See, being on a board used to mean something. Now, in some respects, in many respects, it seems like a badge of ego. And hey, how about this one? These power lists in real estate, strongest voice in real estate or most powerful voice in real estate. Like, total bullshit. They're popularity contests. These aren't merit-based. And who are these companies, these people making these lists anyways? Who do they think they are? What authority do they have? And why are they the voice or that authority who actually has say in who ranks where? I mean, they're not. This is all one big farce. And yet another reason why people either feel like they belong and have worth and why some don't. In fact, this is one of the biggest reasons. This whole thing runs deeper, okay, into the whole problem of mental health. This type of shit is why people struggle. In fact, it's simply an extension to those toxic Facebook groups. And in fact, it's pretty much the same people as those groups. All about popularity contests, vanity bullshit. The problem is, these people get the spotlight, they get the influence, and the access. While the people doing the actual work, they get left behind. And I know it. I've been in the room. I've seen it firsthand. I walked away from the room because I can't stand that type of shit. Sucking up and popularity and paying your way through life. You know what? No. Work hard, do good, really be loyal, be trustworthy, be respectful. And you will earn the respect of those people that are out there that truly appreciate that from a human being, rather than the pomp and circumstance, the popularity, and the vanity metrics. There are a lot of hardworking individuals that do not get the business, the accolades, the recognition that they deserve because they're not part of the inner circle. Whoever thinks they are the inner circle. That's why I'm saying all this right now. Stay away from this stuff. Don't read into it. Start trying to keep up with the in crowd. I mean, who said they were the in crowd anyways? Instead, just focus on you. Focus on what you want in business. And more importantly, what you want in life. Look, you're out here working. We're all out here working, helping people, trying to build a business and a life. We deserve leadership that gives a damn. Not backroom deals, not careless spending, not empty titles and big salaries. We deserve transparency. We deserve a voice. We deserve better. Look, I didn't come into this today to make enemies. I came into this one to make progress. But when good people stay silent, the wrong people take control. And organized real estate in this country seems to have lost the plot. Too much ego, too much waste, too little impact. If we want things to change, we got to stop whispering and we got to start speaking up. We've got to hold the gatekeepers accountable and start building something that actually works for the people who do the work. You. Me. So here's your action step. Ask questions. Demand answers. Speak up. Stop accepting the status quo. Start looking at your leadership and asking, what value are they actually providing? Where is my money going? And who are they really serving? And for anyone who is part of these organizations, this isn't an attack. This is a wake-up call. Fix the licensing, support better leadership, be more responsible with our money. And most of all, don't forget who you're here to serve. It's we, the members. If this message resonated, do me a favor. Share this episode, start the conversation, and let the boards know we're watching. You've been listening to the MindShare podcast, whether it's on one of your favorite podcast platforms or directly from my website. One-to-one coaching, MindShare Collective group coaching, momentum training, we've got options. And if you haven't yet, get yourself in that room for our MindShare Mastermind coming up in Toronto, September 15th to the 17th. Head over to mindshare101.com for all the details to grab your free Ultimate Marketing Bundle. Follow me at David Greenspan 101 on Instagram and shoot me a DM. Let me know you're watching, you're listening, and you're resetting. And until next time, keep building MindShare, because that's how you earn the market share. I want to thank Kids Keep in Touch Systems, REM Magazine, and Revel Realty for their continued support as sponsors of the show. This has been another episode of the MindShare Podcast. Thank you for tuning in.